Fubo TV, we have massive news. And I mean, absolutely insane news out here in the past hour. I wasn't even planning on recording you guys a video here today on the Reaction channel. I was actually just start to prep a video for the main channel here today, but I got to cover this because this is huge. Fubo stock popping massively right before the market closed. Stock was up about 16-17% roughly. And the reason being is as good a news that could possibly have happened. I mean, this is as good as it could be for Fubo. Judge temporarily blocks sports streaming service Venue, ruling in favor of, I mean, talk about a David and Goliath situation, ruling in favor of Fubo TV on antitrust concerns. A U.S. judge temporarily blocked media companies Disney, Warner Brothers, and Fox from launching their sports streaming service Venue, according to court filings. The temporary injunction granted in response to a lawsuit brought by Fubo TV comes just weeks ahead of the start of the NFL season. The companies had planned to launch their service by that date. The lawsuit brought by Fubo, an internet TV bundle akin to traditional pay TV packages. Why did they describe it as that? They should have described it as a streaming company similar to YouTube TV. But who owns CNBC? Who owns CNBC? So, a very strange way to describe Fubo, CNBC, but okay. Quote, "We respectfully disagree with the court's ruling and are appealing it," the company said on a joint statement on Friday. "We believe that Fubo's arguments are wrong on the facts and the law, and that Fubo has failed to prove it is legally entitled to a preliminary injunction. Venue Sports is a pro-competitive option that aims to enhance consumers' choice by reaching a segment of viewers who currently are not served by existing." I mean, it's just a bunch of baloney, right? I mean, at the end of the day, they want to eliminate as many potential competitors as possible, so then they just have a monopoly on this, right? Them and YouTube TV. If it's just them and YouTube TV, and those are your two options to get like a modern TV package, I mean, night-night. Because we know them and YouTube are in like this because YouTube's owned by Google, right? So, of course, they'd want to eliminate any, Fubo's just a problem for them. Fubo's just in the way, right? And so they would love to eliminate Fubo. They would love Fubo to go bankrupt. It creates way less competition for them long term, and then they could just go up like crazy on price, and people would have no choice but to pay. Because where else are you going to go at that point in time? Because you got to understand, these three companies alone, they own a massive amount of the sports content. So if you watch any sort of sports, basketball, football, baseball, anything like that, and you got to understand, you're going to have to likely go through these three companies. Otherwise, you're not going to have access to it. So if all it's them is YouTube TV and these guys, whoo, I mean, it's going to be bad for the consumer long term. And that's the argument Fubo made. I'm certainly no lawyer, but I know a few things about the law, and I felt like this was a situation that Fubo had a pretty decent probability of winning, right? Now, from here, Venue can take this, from my understanding, to a smaller court, okay? And they're going to potentially try to win in that court. But my opinion is, first off, that's going to take a long time to do that. So even if they were to win, could they launch in 2025 at some point in time? Maybe. That's if they won. Now, I would say fairly low probability they win in a lower court. And the reason being is they already lost in Big Dog, right? And they already put their best cards on the table. Everybody put their best cards on the table in this situation, right? Because this was the big one. Like, you got to come in and win this one. No different than if Fubo lost this today, I think it would be very hard for Fubo to then go win this in a lower court. So, because everybody's putting their best cards on the table. This is all the facts. This is all the, how we view this, right? And so you're not going to magically pull a rabbit out of the hat now in a lower court, right? So now you kind of are kind of hoping a little bit on luck that things are going to work in your favor, which it's always a potential, right? But I would call it a pretty low probability. Like, this was the big one. Like, this is, we're talking about they had to go to a federal court for this situation. This is Big Dog. Now, in regards to Fubo, right? I mean, don't be surprised if the stock goes to $3 to $4 range quickly here now at this point in time, right? Because now we talk about Venues out of the way for at least likely this year. And so if this Venue even ever comes together, which, I think it's a rather low probability now at this point in time, if it even ever comes together, you're looking at probably a 2025 or 2026 launch. But I think there's, if I had to put odds on it, I would say there's probably a 20% probability that Venue ever actually gets to launch, and probably 80% now at this point in time of them never launching. Whereas if I went back 24 hours ago, I felt like there was probably like a 50-50. Like it was a coin flip, or maybe like a 60-40, like a little better in Fubo's favor than these guys' favor, in my opinion, right? So this is a very positive development here for Fubo, right? Now, in regards to Fubo's latest earnings, they came out with, what was that, a couple weeks ago, right? If we look at their total revenues, they went to $390 million from $312. So the revenues clearly continues to scale up and move in the right direction. If we look at their subscribers-related expenses, that was certainly up year over year, but it wasn't up nearly as much as revenues were up, which is something you like to see. So they brought down their operating loss to $35 million from $52 million. That's definitely very, very good there. Very, very good. And then if we look at their loss from continuing operations before income taxes, that was a $25 million loss there versus 54. So Fubo, everything in the financials is going the right direction, right? And simultaneously, we have this lawsuit going in Fubo's direction as well. Now, as far as could Fubo ever get compensation from these guys, it's a potential still that Fubo could get some sort of litigation expenses covered. Like we'll see where all that shakes out. That I'm not really counting on. And I think the main thing for Fubo is I don't think that it's necessarily about them making a bunch of money from a lawsuit against these guys. I think the bigger factor here is I think Fubo just wanted the service blocked, right? Which makes sense because then these guys could charge Fubo insane prices and just basically eliminate Fubo, right? Like throw ridiculous pricing at Fubo that Fubo would then have to pay. They wouldn't be able to pay it, right? Which means their service would be less competitive, which means ultimately they would end up kind of slowly getting eliminated, right? Or at least that's kind of the ugly way of looking at it, but it was a serious potential. So now if this gets blocked, the other thing you got to understand that this is really positive for Fubo with is now these companies are going to actually fear Fubo a little bit in terms of if they go in, Fubo negotiates with these companies all the time for sports streaming rights and for channels, right? If now these companies try to charge some crazy price to Fubo, right? Fubo's going to potentially take that to court. They're going to potentially expose these things and whatnot, right? And so now at this point in time, these guys, I think this is probably the most level playing field Fubo's probably ever gotten now at this point in time, kind of moving forward here. So definitely steps in the right direction. Now, additionally with Fubo, what makes it quite interesting is if we compare their trailing 12-month price to sales ratio. So this is one of the things I love to do in 1000X. By the way, if you want access to 1000X, click the pinned comment down there, you fill an application, and maybe we can get you access to this in my private group next week. So Fubo, look at the trailing 12-month price to sales ratio, 0.28 for Fubo. Netflix is at 8. Fox is at 1.26. Now, do I believe Fubo should command the same price to sales ratio as Netflix? No. Although it actually does have better revenue growth story, right? But I don't think they should command that high of a price to sales ratio. But do I think they should command a 0.28? No. That's silly. That's downright silly. Fox is a company that, look at their revenues. Look at trailing 12-month revenue, 6% plus down. Current year expected revenue expected to be negative as well, right? And yet this company trades at a price to sales ratio of about, what is that, 5x? Where Fubo's at? Come on, man. Like, this is silly. So this is why I believe Fubo is going to go to $3 to $4 very quickly here. And then if this venue is like done, and they can't make anything happen in a lower court, then don't be surprised if Fubo goes to $10, $15 here over the next, we can call it 18 to 24 months. Because if Fubo can then flip to profitability in 2025, stop losing money, stop becoming a money-burning company, right? And then there's no threat from this venue potential here. Oh boy, it's going to be fun. It's going to be really fun in regards to Fubo. So it's one of those rare stocks that you get that has that kind of, it could go BK. Like if this venue thing happened and, venue just screwed them and these companies screwed Fubo in regards to the rates, they start charging Fubo. That could have got ugly for Fubo. And could Fubo go to zero? It's a potential, right? But there's like that. This could go to $10. It's a dollar stock, could go to 10, 15, 20 over the next 18, 20, 24 months. Whew, I mean, that's pretty exciting. So, yeah, every once in a while you get kind of a freak spec stock. The thing with me with Fubo, and if you look at kind of what I hold with Fubo, it's a small position. It's a small position relative. Like I have a position in the public account, and I don't know, that position might be 1% of the portfolio. It's a small position. But if this really is at 10x opportunity, well, maybe it could go to 10% of the portfolio, right? But I don't want to risk a massive amount of money in just because there is that risk on the other side. What if things went bad? That would be an ugly situation. But it is, I can tell you, it's all starting to look better and better and better for Fubo now at this point in time. Absolutely massive. And I'm happy. The masses are covering this a little bit more because I can tell you it seemed like kind of a little bit of a cover up, from mainstream media. This is one of the biggest, I think, lawsuit situations in regards to the media industry in potentially decades. And everybody was so hush hush, like I'm like, where's all the big media covering this? Like, this is huge. Like, this is a David and Goliath situation. It's Fubo going after Disney, Warner Brothers, and Fox. You're gonna be flipping my flapjacks. Like, that's crazy, man. And I think everybody should be rooting for Fubo in this because I can tell you this would be bad for consumers long term. And I know a lot of people don't like Disney and Warner Brothers and Fox in the mainstream media anyways. So I think everybody should be on the side of Fubo in this situation, man. So yeah, we'll see where things trade. But anyways, I had to cover this for you guys because it's such big news. And anyways, I'm gonna get to work on a main channel video here today. Much love. Appreciate y'all and peace.